name is Randolph Gomez. I am getting an MFA degree on metalsmithing and jewelry design from KU. Dead circles came from, strangely enough, from a YouTube video, and they were just these ants spinning, and it looked incredible. It was like this black hurricane of ants moving on a circle so pointlessly, and in the end it's explained when they're trying to find their trail home, they just lose it and they start going in circles trying to find it. They leave a chemical trail, and all the other ants will follow that ant that has led them astray, and they will all get lost. Eventually they will all die of exhaustion, and that idea, that thing just struck my mind, and I thought, well, aren't we all like that in life? I made this stamp, and by modifying this soldering iron, which is a very powerful one, you can keep constant heat because the temperature to brand different things varies a lot. I tried wood, leather. Some work better than others. Leather worked pretty well, obviously, and even some of the walls around here, but they will never find them. Of course, I came up to paper, which was an obvious choice, and cardboard, and then cotton. Cotton, it was a good thing to find out because the size of the sheets that I use, would never find those. You can find them on paper, but the problem with paper is that it crumbles when you burn it. The fabric will still remain on unless it's like completely charred and burned away. It will stay there, and the mark will be flexible. That's why I chose the fabrics, and I wanted to transport my piece. And so fabric, it was just like this amazing solution for all, because I can just fold them, put them in tiny bags. That huge project, put them in tiny little bags, and just keep it in my tiny studio. The fabrics were supposed to be layers of knowledge, layers of culture, or of history, or of our world, what we consider our human world. That's why the fabric, and I chose the square format, and then there is like this connotation of like basic primordial shapes. There's a circle inside a square, and then it's you can scribe one the circle by putting tangent points in it, and it touches on four sides the square. So it's like this. It's like this idea of the two very compatible shapes. And we also learn all this when we're children. They teach us before even we learn to speak correctly or write, and language. We're taught the language of forms. In terms of construction, the metal circle of ants in the back of the piece, they're all individually made. They're constructed from beads and wire. So I made each one of those by hand, and at first it took me a long time to figure it out. But once I got it, it was like a manufacturing kind of. I just sat down for hours and hours making those ants. And then, I began with a very tiny circle of ants, and then I started making it bigger. Eventually, that's the size it took because I just got sick of it and I couldn't make any more. And that is the truth. I think you stop when you can't do it anymore. It's just, and that's how it could, because I could have added more fabrics, could have made the circle bigger, or could have made more projects. But there's a limited time that you have to do this, and that's a good thing because you could keep going on and on and on forever, at least until you die. But the main idea of it was that in the same process, I would reinforce the notion of going in circles, and the ants. Also, there was the idea that you wouldn't know they were ants until you got close enough, because it was such a large piece. People would probably feel, they would have to see it from afar. And when you see it from afar, you can see all the, the structure, the light that comes from inside. But when you got close, there will be a reward in seeing the ants and seeing how guessing how I made them. And they're like little Easter eggs all around. I put little ants by themselves in specific places. Some people found them, some people didn't, and that's an interesting thing, because if we were careful, you would see that they were there. Now, these ants could represent, I don't know, like the ones that were left behind, trying to fix things, or trying to save what is left, or something like that. That circle is very heavy, and you wouldn't think of it when you see it. It doesn't look heavy, but it is. It's made of copper, and all the weight of them is quite consistent. So also the idea of this tension, that they're hanging by a very couple of ants just holding them in the place. They could just fall off at any minute. That was also an important thing to me. When they were digging into, I wanted to create a contrast. Normally when you're excavating or digging a hole, there's light on the outside and there's darkness inside. I wanted to make the opposite. That's why I put the lights behind it, because I wanted them to be going towards a light of knowledge. The notion that we need to discover, we need to find everything, we need to learn what we are made of, what the world's made of, and discover our real purpose to exist. It's also it has two sides. We destroy to learn, and we destroy to create. And originally, those you know what those fabrics look like. They were just blankets. I destroyed them to create something else. Therefore, all reinforcing the same concept. Discovery. I discovered something by destroying the fabrics, by burning them. And I created something by destroying those fabrics. And I think that's the whole irony of our existence. We can't help it. We can't help our nature. Our nature is to learn to discover things, but in the process, we are destroying our own planet, our own world, which is kind of absurd, I think, and it's mindless. And even if we have an idea of what we want to find in the process, we're just doing it mindlessly because we know what we're doing. We know we're destroying the planet, yet we can't keep doing it. And so as the ants, they can't help it. It is in their nature to follow one another, and they're trusting, I guess, the one in front of them. If they lead them astray, they will just go in circles and die. It's also about, it's a humbling experience. It's about knowing that in the universe, in the grand scheme of things, we are very insignificant. We think we're special as individuals, and we like to think that we're powerful and mighty. We are not. We're insignificant, and this universe is so huge. It's impossible for us to even comprehend how big it is. And so as the ants, we consider them insignificant. We can step on them without having second thought. I'll just step on that, big deal. And so the dead circles is also about that. The configuration's the same as constellations spinning. There's a reference in that. It's in here on Earth, but it's also in outer space. We're all made of the same. And we need to, once you realize, I think, that we are tiny and our lives really don't have a purpose, we can really live, happier. We can have a fuller life by knowing that there is nothing else waiting for you. And that's also, I think it's a positive idea behind something that sounds very dark, like the dead circles, it's all death and dark and, purposelessness and all that. But I think once you do that, it's very freeing. You can start really living your life. I think that would say, if there's anything positive about my project, it would be that there's more to life than we think.